Right then. So that project's done. It got a little difficult on that other cut because there's actually a root that runs out into the yard here, and I didn't know it. So I thought I had cut through, and I couldn't get the piece to pop up. Even went and got the pry bar, put the big pry bar under there, and that's when I started lifting up the sod. Oops. So I had to come in vertical and cut through that root. Yeah, but we got her done. So now I can mow that area and not hit those with my mower, and that makes Daddy happy. I don't think there's any more. I thought there was 4, but maybe not. All right. Should we talk about the bombshell first, or should we talk about work first? Let's talk about work. Today was a shit show. I looked at my route this morning, and I had 5 calls. One of them was rebuilding an LG refrigerator, which didn't take me but an hour because I didn't have to put the evaporator in. But they normally allocate 4 hours for that job for the people that don't know what they're doing or are not very good at it. It gives them time, or in case you run into a problem, weld joints that don't seal up or whatever. I had the old compressor out, the new one in an hour, but it didn't work. Plugged the unit in, all the fans came on, no compressor run. No. There's an LED indicator light on the main board, and that was giving me a 3 blink code. So I looked up the 3 blink code, and sure enough, faulty compressor, no power to the compressor from the main board, broken wire harness from the main board down to the compressor. Those are the 3 options. Brand new compressor out of the box. So, I've heard DTR in the past. I would like to know the rest of the story, as Paul Harvey used to say. And now you know the rest of the story. Better be careful, that might be a patented trade statement. Copyrighted. But anyway, DTR was talking about, oh yeah, I put this compressor in and it was defective. Nope. No. I've never had that happen in 15 years. Nope. It's straight up a case he doesn't know what the situation is, just like I didn't know what the situation was today. So, compressor won't run. I test the compressor. I ohm it out with my meter, my electric meter. And sure enough, one of the windings in the motor of the compressor was bad, was open. Okay, what the hell? So I called Techline because I wanted to ask them if they knew of a production run on compressors that was bad or whatever, something along those lines. And find out for sure what was going on. So I get the guy on Techline, and the first thing I learned is that I was testing the compressor wrong. Linear compressors test differently than the old school reciprocal compressors, like DTRs used to. So I'm sure DTR is testing the new compressors wrong as well. What can happen with the linear compressors is if you put your test leads, there's 3 prongs sticking out of the compressor that look like that. And you put one test lead here, one test lead here, and that's reading one winding. You put the other test lead here and here, that's reading the other winding. And then on the old school ones, you put the test leads here and here, and that reads the 3rd winding. Linear compressors aren't that way. You test from common to start, and from common to whatever this is called. And that's it. If one of those 2 is open, then the compressor's bad. But from here to here will always be open on a linear compressor. So I'm thinking that DTR did his old school, go to here, 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 here. Oh, winding's open. Put a compressor in. I'd like to hear how the rest of his story played out. I'm sure he put that second compressor, if it's a situation like I ran into, which 1 in a million. He put the second one in, still didn't run. Then he called Tech Line. Then he learned some things. Well, what happened with me is I put this compressor in, won't run. Call Tech Line. Oh, I remember why I called him. I thought maybe there might be a problem with the main board, the control board that runs the compressor. That could be faulty. So I tried to look up that part number on the LG app that we have on our work phones, and there was nothing available for that item. So I called Techline to get the right part number for the right board. So we're talking, and he taught me how to test the compressors. So I said, yeah, there's on the part schematic, there's no part number for the main board. I need to know the right main board. So he had the model and serial number of the fridge. And on the model number, the last 1 or 2 digits has to do with a prefix or a series. And this one happened to be a 10, series 10. So I read him, he read off the part number for the board. And I looked at the sticker that was on the original board. I said, that's not the part number that's on the sticker of the original board. He goes, what's the part number on that board? And I read it to him. He said, that's an '02 series. That's the totally wrong board for that refrigerator. I'm like, no wonder it never worked out of the box. He said, yeah, that's supposed to go on a -02, and you've got a -10. So you need this board to run that fridge. I said, could that cause compressors to blow? He goes, oh yeah. I said, so the original compressor, the board cooked it, and now the replacement one that I just put in, the board cooked it. He goes, yep. So I got to order the correct board and another compressor to replace the one that the wrong board destroyed. Nice. Awesome. Yeah. Yay me. So that happened. The first call was a washing machine. I diagnosed it wrong. Yeah, that happened. Shitty day. But I had 5 calls. So Billy calls me and she goes, are you happy with today's route? And I said, well, it looks like it's going to be a long one, but I'll get through it. She goes, the scheduling girl effed up. You had 4 hours allocated for the refrigerator rebuild. She put you down for 45 minutes. And on top of that, you're running all the way to Athelsdane, which is a 2.5 hour run one way. I'm like, yeah. Plus you got 3 other calls. Yeah. That washing machine that I failed on, and 2 diagnostics. One of the diagnostics would probably require me to pull the Athelsdane call, it's a double oven, high end, probably a Wolf or a Bosch, which means it's real heavy. Pull it out of the wall to open up the back to test the elements and the thermostat. I'm like, okay, reschedule the Athelsdane call, but leave the other ones on. So she tells the scheduling girl to do that. Scheduling girl didn't hear her, and she wiped out everything except for the refrigerator and the washing machine. So I got done early. 2 o'clock I punched out instead of midnight. Yeah. So we got home early. On the way home, I get a message from my dad. Hey, you got time to talk on an old-fashioned phone today? I'm like, here we go again. I'm like, yeah, I'll be home in an hour. I'll get on the porch and I'll talk with you. So he calls. Yeah, the reason I'm calling, I just want to let you know the wedding's off. I'm like, what? He was supposed to get married in a week. Right? Yeah, the wedding's off. I'm like, okay, what happened? Guess what? I'll give you 3 guesses as to what she turned out to be. A sociopath. She put on an act. Fortunately, Yahweh stepped in, made my dad realize and see the act, and stopped a very serious thing from happening before the damage could not be undone. How was she a sociopath, you ask? She's a church-going, Bible-thumping friend of my mother's. My deceased mother. Yep. When you date somebody, in the beginning, they call that the honeymoon period. Most people, not all people, because I don't do this, put on a show. Put your best foot forward, right? Yep. You don't fart, you don't pick your nose, you know what I mean? You're you're being fake. Most people have a tendency to do this, including this woman. So she was pretending to like the things my dad liked. Astronomy, nature, blah, blah, blah. But what started to get on his nerves was when she came into his house that he owns, free and clear, and started making recommendations on how to change things and remodel things. Yep. Then my dad started to see the real her. Control freak, dominant. So she wanted him to tear out this little one-man stall shower that he has in the house that he really likes. He uses it. She wanted him to tear that out and put a big walk-in shower, fancy one, in his place. Who's paying for that? Oh, by the way, she lives in a mobile home. She lives in a trailer. So, who's paying for the fancy walk-in shower? Dad. That's one thing. They painted the house, the inside of the house, and because the inside of the house used to have a lot of blues and pinks on the walls, which were my mom's favorite colors. And yeah, she wanted something different, so they actually did that, painted the house, the inside. Uh, she wanted him to create an open concept from the kitchen to the living room. In other words, there's a wall that separates the two. You can see through it. It's like a knee wall kind of thing. She wanted him to rip that out of there, knock that out of there, and open up the living room and the kitchen and tie them together. He didn't like that. She wanted to build a formal dining room. Right now, his living room, or the big room as he calls it, I call mine the great room, serves as the dining room as well. On one end of that room, by the patio doors that lead out to the backyard, is where he has a 4-person dining room table. If more people show up, like if it's a church function or something, he has folding tables, Costco folding table. He sets those up, he butts it up to the dining room table, puts a drop cloth over the top, instant 12-place dining room table. He's a frugal guy like me. Oh no, we got to get a dining room set that seats 12. We got to make this into an actual dining room, and we got to knock out that kitchen wall and make it an open concept type place. Nope. He's going through the same shit I'm going through. Yep. He was going to come up here, you know, to bring her to Wisconsin and show her himself. He grew up in Wisconsin from a baby out by Eau Claire. She actually had not much interest in that, in doing that. He was going to take her to the cemetery where his mom is buried and where my mom is buried. He's going to show her Colfax, Wisconsin. That's where he grew up. The old one-room schoolhouse that he went to school in. His mom's farm, my grandma. Things like that. Nah, not really interested in that. Yep, red check mark. Coming to see me. I wanted him to come for a week. Not necessarily a whole week. I think the most I can put up with him is about 4 days. So we'll see what I can talk him into. He has other places he wants to go as well. I think it was her that said no. She didn't want to spend time here with me. Yep. And definitely spend time in a hotel room instead of crashing here. So when he first talked about coming up here, it was for a weekend, and it was rushed. Oh, there won't be time to go fishing. There won't be time to go exploring. There won't be time to help you work on a project as a father-son deal like we used to do back when you were 10, 12 years old. Won't have time for that. I'll just basically have time to see the place, shoot the bull, take you out to dinner, go to church, and then bye now. Off gallivanting with my new wife. Now he's got all the time in the world. And he says, I need to get away for a while. There's a couple other things he said too that ground his gears. And I asked him, I said, was she a gold digger? He had no idea what a gold digger was. Never heard of that concept before. So I explained it to him, and I told him about the diva succubus mongoose. How she came right out and said things that indicated she was a gold digger, proved she was a gold digger without a shadow of a doubt. So I said, did this woman ever ask you about money issues? And he said, well, no, not really. I said, well, did she ask how much savings you had, how much retirement you had, how much your pension was, um, whether the house was paid off, things like that? And he indicated there was some talk of that, yeah. But he thought it was normal premarital talk, you know. I said, no, she was fishing to find out if you were a worthy candidate as a sugar daddy to pay her way. Remember, she lives in a trailer. So he now knows what a gold digger is, and he'll be more attentive if anybody else comes along. I said it's a phenomenon that happens when a man loses his wife and word gets out that he's an eligible bachelor. The vultures come swooping in. Yep, they want to ride the gravy train. So there's two types of gold diggers. Diva came right out and point blank asked me, how much do you make an hour? Do you have a 401k? How much is in it? Is your trailer paid for? She asked bullet point questions that, you know, how much are you in debt? That made it obvious she was looking for somebody that had their shit together so that she could sponge off of them. And she could quit working and be a trophy wife, and he'd have to pay for her sex, plus pay for her food, housing, clothes, yada, yada, yada. Support her like the Cleavers did in Leave It to Beaver back in the 50s. Those are the extreme ones, but the covert ones, they just observe. So they see, do you have a fancy car? Do you have a nice house? Do you have a good job? And they register all this stuff, and that's what lets them know, yeah, he's a secure option for a husband because he can take care of me fiscally. Dad, no idea that sort of evil was out there, and now he knows. He's been schooled. So the wedding's off. Apparently, they were arguing pretty much every day. Yep. Yep. She was turning into, the mask was slipping. Now, remember what I said about timelines that the psychiatrists and the therapists always say? The average length a sociopath can maintain the fake act is anywhere from 4 to 6 months. My dad was dating this person 6 months, and he was going to pull the trigger and get married. And the mask slipped, and now he sees the real her, and he's like, whoa, 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 backpedaled. Yep. Yep. Good call. Yep. I dodged a bullet more than once myself. Yep. It's not what God wants for his white lighters, his chosen ones, is to be hitched up to something evil. Yeah. So there's that. But anyway, now he wants to come up. So I got to plan a week, take a vacation, and put together some projects. I'll probably be mostly done with the trailer, if not done with it, by the time he comes up here. But he also wants to experience fall, because he said he never got to experience fall. When we were growing up, he was a teacher, so the kids were back to school in the fall. He was busy with school stuff every day of the week and even on the weekends. So he would bring his papers home to grade them and the tests and things like that. You know, he was pretty in depth with his students. Most teachers just glossed everybody over. They did the bare minimum. They did a hodgepodge, let's get her done quick kind of thing so we can go out and play golf and go hunting and stuff like that. My dad would sit up into the wee hours of the night reading through people's homework submissions that they had presented for an assignment. Literally reading it, not just skimming it, but reading it and digesting it and understanding it to see if the student grasped the concept that he was trying to teach. He was involved that hardcore with his class. And therefore, during the school year, he had no time to himself, for himself. So, like on Sunday afternoons, after church, Sunday was a day of rest. He would watch Packer games. And that was it. Other than that, we didn't go out fishing. We didn't go out walking in the woods. We didn't work on projects. It was do the testing, proofread the homework and assign grades, doing grades, he called it. Grading papers. Oh yeah. So, he said he wants to experience fall. Well, if he comes up here in September, we're not going to have any colors on the trees or anything like that. He won't really get to experience it. But I want to take him out mushrooming. Definitely going out on the lake here fishing, exploring the back lake with some fishing, showing him the house, of course, working on projects. I gotta line up a project that he and I can work on that would be fun. Because back when I was growing up, 10, 12, 14 years old, early teenager, he was remodeling the Victorian house that we grew up in, and I was always helping him with projects. Yeah. So, I'm going to take a few days and hang out. That'll be cool. Now, since he was being honest and forthright and open about his situation with Judy, I haven't met a Judy yet that's a good person. That's just my personal experience. Sorry if any of you out there are Judys. I haven't met one yet. A nice Judy. Apparently all the Karens are bad too. Don't be a Karen. Yeah, raging psychopathic lunatic. There's a Karen next door. And she's sweet, quiet, soft-spoken, so that doesn't hold true. But anyway, I digress. So seeing as he was being honest and forthright about Judy, I told him about Scrunchy. Yeah. You could have heard a pin drop. He thought I was with Mia. So I explained what happened with Mia and why I let her go, because she didn't have the time for me. She was more loyal to the Amish Mafia and her own situation than helping me out in my time of crisis. Whereas Scrunch has pretty much dropped everything in her world temporarily and is helping me accomplish the mission. Yeah. So much so, she said yesterday when I came home from work yesterday and she was still here, I fully expected her to be gone by midday from the house here. And I came home, she was here. And I said, wait a minute. I thought you'd have been gone by now. Don't you got to get home to your cats? Oh, they'll be fine. There you go. But when she did get home, yeah, both the cats, their food was totally empty. Well, that's because they're piggies, just like mine. But anyway, so I told him about Mia, the Amish Mafia, how she was recently diagnosed with leukemia. She doesn't want to be a burden on somebody for a relationship, a committed relationship. So that's why I think part of the reason she was keeping me at arm's distance is just a situationship, pen pal kind of thing. I don't think she was putting me through a test because I wasn't in the wrong. I think she was trying to keep her distance for self-preservation reasons. Leukemia is a death sentence. There's a cure for it, but nobody wants to prescribe it to their patients. It's called immunotherapy. They took a kid, 12-year-old kid, I think it was, who had stage 4 leukemia. He had about 16 weeks to live. And they did immunotherapy on him, and they brought him back from the dead, from the brink. Went into remission. As far as I know, well, I haven't done follow-up on it, but yeah, they pretty much cured him with immunotherapy. I told Mia, I said, talk to your doctor about immunotherapy. You think she will? Nah. She'll follow what they want her to do, lock, stock, and barrel, and she'll end up dead. Anyway, so I told him why it didn't work out with Mia, and I told him that Scrunch and I are taking another stab at the relationship. Why? Because we are damn near perfectly compatible. Scrunch is not a sociopath. She's not putting on an act, pretending to like things that I like just to impress me and lure me in, like the diva, succubus, mongoose, sociopathic, covert narcissistic, alcoholic, druggie, leprechaun banger, master liar, little miscreant of Satan does. When Scrunchy's excited about something, she shows it. You saw the video, her doing a happy dance when she found chanterelles. She did pretty much the same thing when she caught the fish. Well, you saw you saw that as well. That's genuine. It's not an act. Due to Mia's new drug that she's on, the super pill as I call it, she has no empathy, sympathy, or enthusiasm for anything. So she caught a bass like that off my dock, almost the same size. She just winched it in and hung it off the end of her fishing pole, and I didn't even know she had a fish on until I turned around and there she is. Not a word. Scrunch is over there. I'm so thrilled. It's awesome. I love it. And it's real. So I told my dad, I said, we're darn near compatible in every single thing. I said, do you have any idea how rare that is to find in this day and age? If you find it, you need to do everything in your power to keep it. Yeah, that's like reaching the brass ring. Yep. As far as relationships go. Yep. So I told him, I said, we're trying to work on it again. We both have a couple of trivial little idiosyncrasy quirks that we have to work on, each one of us, but it's nothing major. It's not like somebody that has to have a partner that's an alcoholic, try to get them to fix their alcoholism. or drugs or narcissism, you know, that's incurable. So you know what I mean? There's people that have it a lot worse. So when you find the darn near perfect match, you need to try to hang on to that at all costs, because that's a diamond in the rough, essentially. So I told my dad all this, and he says, well, I'll pray for you that the situation ends up being good, or something like that. You know. So there you have it. That is the big bombshell. Other than that, I got nothing. Scrunchy's having some hard times at work. There's some lack of communication, lack of organization. One hand doesn't know what the other one's doing, kind of thing going on in her world, and she's caught in the middle, and it's very stressful for her. You know, so she's sweating that shit, but it'll be okay. This too shall pass, as they say. All right, that's all I got. Talk to you tomorrow.